Alright, so last week we talked about how science starts with wondering. But before we can wonder, we have to notice something. That thing that we notice that gets us to wonder is called an observation. And whatever it makes us think about, that is our inference. So today we're talking about observations and inference. The first vocab word is observation. Since that's a vocab word, you guys are going to make a line in your notebook, and on the left, write observation, and on the right, you're going to write our definition. An observation is a fact or measurement gathered using the five senses. And every time we hear, or say, or read the word observation, we're going to make these glasses. So observation, because that's going to remind us that an observation is something we notice or measure. We don't think about it, we just use our five senses. Let's take a field trip to my refrigerator to make some observations. Whew! Something smells in here. Now, that's an observation, but I only use words. So anytime I notice something using my five senses, I use my nose, it's an observation. And if I only use my words, it's a qualitative observation, which is your next vocab word. So your next vocab word, which should go on the left of your notebook, is qualitative, and you're going to write words only. Underneath that, you're going to write a qualitative observation. My example was, something smells. Which is true. That is what I noticed, but in science, we need to make observations as specific as possible. So we need to make quantitative observations. Quantitative means numbers, like the number sign. So our next vocab word is quantitative, and anytime we see that, or read that, or say it, we're going to make the number sign, or we're going to draw the number sign under the word. So go ahead and write quantitative, which means numbers only, and also make that number sign under quantitative. So being a good scientist, I'm going to have to think about what I could count, right? I need to make a quantitative and more detailed observation. I need to notice something, but be specific. Let's take a look inside. Whew. It's still rough in there. So within 3 seconds of opening the door, I smelled a sour odor. Much more specific, and I got some quantitative numbers because it was an observation and I added numbers to it. So let's write that as our example. Within 3 seconds of opening the door, I smelled a sour odor. Okay, so I noticed something, and first it was qualitative, but then I wanted to make it more specific, so I did quantitative. And now it kind of makes me think. After you observe something, you're going to think, and I'm going to think, well, what was that? What could have smelled? And anytime we think about what we just observed, that's called an inference. An inference is a guess or explanation of what you just noticed. That's our next vocab word. So I gotta make a guess. I gotta explain what I just observed. So let me take another look. I think it's the eggs. To me, I think the eggs have spoiled. I don't know that for sure. It's just a guess. I'm trying to explain what I smelled. So that's my inference. That's our last part of our vocab word. An example of an inference is the eggs must have spoiled. That's my guess. So, to summarize, an observation is something that you notice or measure. After you notice that, you're going to start wondering, and you're going to start trying to explain it, and that's our inference. An observation can be qualitative, which is words only, but good scientists make it quantitative, which is numbers. After you make your observation, you're going to want to make your inference. Alright, hope that helps you determine what an observation, a quantitative observation, and an inference is, and more importantly, as scientists, we're going to make specific quantitative observations so that our inferences or guesses can be more accurate.